My Uncle Robert never talked, not because he could not, but because he chose not to. He sat at family dinners in silence. He nodded instead of answering. He smiled instead of laughing out loud. For 30 years, nobody in our family heard him say more than 10 words in a row. We all thought we knew why. We were all completely wrong. I was 12 when I first noticed how strange it was. Every Christmas, our whole family came together, cousins running everywhere, aunts talking over each other, uncles arguing about football, noise, laughter, chaos, and in the corner of every room, Robert, quiet, still, watching, always with a small cup of coffee in his hands, always with that same soft look in his eyes, not sad, not angry, just somewhere else. Like his body was in the room, but his mind was in a completely different world. I used to stare at him when I was little, not to be rude, just because he fascinated me. Everyone else was so loud, and he was so perfectly still. Like a quiet lake in the middle of a storm. My mother told me once, "Robert has always been like that, ever since he was a boy." I asked her why. She shrugged. Some people are just quiet. But something in her eyes said she did not fully believe that either. My father said he had a hard time growing up. Leave him be. That was all anyone ever said. Leave him be. So we did. For 30 years, we left him be. Robert passed away on a Tuesday morning in November, peacefully, in his sleep. He was 61 years old. He lived alone in a small house on the edge of town. Clean, simple, neat, everything in its place. The kind of house that tells you exactly who the person was. Quiet, careful, private. After the funeral, our family went to his house to collect his things. It was a sad and strange afternoon. Everyone spoke in low voices. Everyone moved slowly, like the house itself was still listening. I was given the task of going through his bedroom. I did not mind. I wanted to understand him, even now, even after he was gone. I went through his closet. Simple shirts, simple trousers, everything folded perfectly. I went through his drawers. A few letters, some old photographs, a watch that had stopped working, and then, at the very back of the bottom drawer, wrapped in a plain brown cloth, a diary. Old, worn, the cover soft from years of handling. I held it in my hands for a long time. I almost did not open it. It felt too private, too personal. Like opening a door I was not sure I was allowed to walk through. But then I thought, he is gone, and nobody in this family ever understood him. Maybe this was his way of finally letting someone in. I opened it. The first page had one sentence written in small, careful handwriting. If you are reading this, I am glad someone finally wanted to know. I sat down on the edge of his bed, and I started to read. Robert started writing the diary when he was 17 years old. The first few entries were short, simple observations. The color of the sky on a particular morning, the sound of rain on the roof, the way his mother laughed when she thought nobody was watching. Small things, beautiful small things. Things nobody else in the family had ever noticed. Because they were all too busy talking. Then I reached an entry dated when he was 19, and everything changed. He wrote about a girl named Clara. She was in his class at college. She was quiet too. Not painfully quiet like Robert, but thoughtfully quiet. The kind of quiet that listens. He wrote about the first time she spoke to him. She had picked up a book he dropped, handed it back without making it awkward, just smiled and said, "Good choice." He wrote, "Nobody had ever said that to me before, about anything I had chosen. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just nodded. But inside, something opened up that had been closed for a very long time." I read that line 3 times. Something opened up that had been closed for a very long time. I thought about every Christmas dinner, every family gathering, every time Robert sat in the corner with his coffee, and I wondered, what was it that had closed him in the first place? I kept reading. He wrote about Clara almost every day for 2 years, their quiet friendship, the way they would sit together in the library without needing to fill the silence, the way she understood that his silence was not emptiness, it was fullness. He had too much inside him to let it out in ordinary conversation, so he kept it in, and she was the only person who had ever understood that. Then one entry, dated a cold February, was only 3 lines long. "Clara is gone. Her family moved away. She left me a note that said she would write. I know she means it. I also know that some things end before they are finished. I will keep the note forever." After that entry, the diary went silent for 4 years. 4 years. Not a single word written. Just blank pages. And somehow, those blank pages said more than any words could have. When he started writing again, he was 25. The entries were different now, deeper, heavier. He wrote about loneliness. Not the kind of loneliness that comes from being alone, the other kind. The kind that comes from being surrounded by people who do not understand you. He wrote, "I have tried to speak, many times, but the words feel wrong by the time they come out. Inside, they are clear and beautiful. Outside, they become small and ordinary. So I stopped trying. The diary understands. The diary never looks confused or uncomfortable when I speak." I wiped my eyes. I had not realized I was crying. I kept reading for 2 hours, page after page, year after year, and slowly, Robert became someone I had never known, a man who noticed everything, who felt everything deeply, who had a rich and beautiful world living entirely inside him. He wrote about books that changed him, about sunsets that made him stop walking, about strangers on buses who looked sad and how he wished he knew how to comfort them. He wrote about our family too, about each of us, with such warmth, such quiet love. He wrote about me, an entry from when I was 7 years old. The little one stared at me again today at dinner, not rudely, curiously, like she was trying to figure me out. I wanted to say, "Keep looking. You are the first one who ever really tried." I closed the diary, and I sat in the quiet of his room, and I understood. Robert was never broken. He was never cold. He was never strange. He was one of the most feeling people our family had ever had. He just spoke a different language, and nobody had ever learned it. Except Clara. Except maybe me. Too late. Some people are not quiet because they have nothing to say. They are quiet because they have too much, and the world never gave them a safe place to say it. The loudest person in the room is not always the most interesting one. Sometimes the most beautiful mind in the room is the one sitting quietly in the corner, holding a cup of coffee, watching everything, feeling everything, saying nothing, Because nobody ever asked. So ask. Ask the quiet people in your life what they are thinking. Ask them what they notice. Ask them what they feel. You might discover a whole world that was there all along, just waiting for someone to finally want to know. Is there a quiet person in your life? Someone you have never really asked? Go ask them something today. Not small talk, something real. You might be surprised by what they say, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it.